Hey to my All-In fam. This your girl, All.i.C, and you're all in with me, so already. Anyway, this is an in-house review of Ruth and Boaz. No, don't start rebuking it. It's not the Bible version. If you want the Bible version, open up the book of Ruth and read it for yourself. It's just more of a modern day twist. It don't detail all of it. It's not that. So don't go in too deep thinking that they're going to be right with the Bible. It's not that, but it's still a good faith-filled story that was told. So I'll say that this movie is sweet and deep and purposeful for the simple fact that Ruth, she come from humble beginnings, given away as a child, gone through all type of crazy things. We know how the system and all that can be. And not only that, dealing with, her own convictions and salvation. She's working in this industry that you can tell that she uncomfortable being in, but she also have to deal with the likes of judgment and what else was it? Pressure from friends, the industry. Then she had people that was questioning her prayers with God, her faith or whatever. And she was just a woman. Y'all know I got my notes. She was a woman that was dealing with a lot of pressure, but she still wasn't evil. She wasn't hateful. But her convictions were really strong, as she was performing. Her dude Marlon, he brings his parents of all places. Now this was what was crazy. Why you bring your mama into this club, man? That's not a good place to meet her. So of course the mother, Felicia Rashard, plays Naomi, and the dad Eli comes in, and the dad, he wasn't trying to be judgmental because he he probably know his son. He's probably not gonna pick a woman that's not of elegance or whatever, and he knows her. She's a sweet girl. But you know how the mamas is about their sons. And she wasn't too much feeling her. She came into the club. She already looking like, what is going on up in here? So the whole time, even after the performance, Ruth feeling like, this ain't it. I don't like this. She ain't like none of it. So she her boyfriend, he brings his mom and them back there, and they just kind of looking around, and the mama like real critical. She clutching her pearls and holding on to her purse tight, like somebody gonna do something to her, which it was in a place that she might be comfortable with or whatever either. But Ruth still being respectful and trying to get her to like her and all that or whatever. And then here comes this little, I call him Pow Wow. All he needed was the grill. He come in there, his name's Cyrus, and he tell a friend that's also in the group with her, whatever, like, hey, let me talk to her. So I guess he senses the uneasiness, but he knows she's like the stronger in the group. And he's just trying to finesse her into staying into this contract. And, they got these big people here, Jermaine Dupri and all that or whatever. And they done signed this contract. So you know how the devil want his payment. And he's an Indian giver. Because he ain't going to tell you how he going to steal your soul. He going to steal your joy. He going to steal all that. And a lot of that happens. And some people, they want to risk it all. Because, hey, I'm trying to get out of here and this and that. But everything comes with a cost. And one of the gems that I kind of felt in this was when choosing right goes wrong. And even the same people that you judge, you may end up needing. I was always told, be careful how you treat people because they may be the ones to save your life. R.P. Papa, he always told me that, the greats, my grandfather. Be careful how you treat people because you don't never know when somebody going to have to save your life. And it was true. So even though the mom, Naomi, was kind of like, like I said, she in there clutching her pearls a little bit or whatever. And she was like, no, you don't need to walk outside. You in your element and all that or whatever. She prejudged the girl, which we all have judgments, whether we want to admit it or not. We all do, good or bad. And she didn't really want her for her son, but yet again, she didn't understand. Sometimes people don't understand, the relationships people have or why they may be attached or whatever. The young lady goes home and she's trying to call her guy friend, later on. Oh, hold on. She done told the dude, I want out this contract. So, you know how the paper, what they say, the piper come for his payment. Yeah. So, I don't want to give out too much. But she's calling and she's been calling her dude all day. He not answering the phone. So, finally the mama answers and she telling her like something has happened to her husband and her son. And, y'all, lashes off. So anytime to me people can break down and cry and it come through the TV and then it hit me, And then I'm crying, and y'all know, if anybody know, I'm a G. I ain't trying to cry like that, but when it be, I was like, oh, grieving and killing and stuff like that. I'm sorry, unaliving, stuff like that bothers me. It touches home really deep. And the cry that came up out of Naomi, and then Bree and them just sitting there, Ruth sitting there, they both just breaking down. That was a really good scene, and it shows how right at that moment, you never know who may be an angel in disguise. What they say, angels unaware. And that was one of those situations. The mother didn't even know that this young lady was going to be the one that would have her back, through all these crazy things or whatever that she was going to go in her life. So be careful how you mistreat people or push your angels away. So the sadness of this is the father and the son both passed. Now, I think, this is still part of the biblical side, but not all of it, to all those criticals, about that or whatever. So, as the funeral is going on, here come Paul Wall and them, he and there basically let her know, hey, I had to do some things to get your attention, but not thinking of the lasting impressions that it was going to have on another person. And a lot of times, another gem message, as he would say, one of the Wayans, what you do comes back. What you do to one person affects somebody else in a whole other way. You done took this lady's son, I believe already had lost a son, and her husband, who they done got it out the mud from a little country town, doing really well. Then Ruth passed by and she heard like, your husband was trying to really get into this business deal and he done leveraged everything and you don't have nothing. Can you talk about grief to a whole nother level? My heart is broken in pieces. Then I ain't got nothing either. All the things I done work for, and I gotta go back to the raggedy country in a house I ain't been in years. And another message that I got out of this was something my papa used to tell us too. Niceness can get you unalived or some people around you. Be careful of the company. Now, she didn't intentionally try to do anything. She didn't know how demonic he was, whatever, how deep it was for him, because he's so much on this, 6-figure, 8-figure contractual deal. This fool done came up in this woman's house at the funeral. Yeah, at the funeral. You bold. And I think she was just so taken aback, like, sometimes another gem, when your mind is not as evil, we all can think it, but when you're not like that, it's hard for you to retain, this fool really did this? But at the same time, she got out of Dodge. So that was the good part of that. But he really was that evil, and, well, it wasn't supposed to happen like that. Anybody gonna fight for their life. So as Ruth kind of figuring like, man, I gotta get out of Dodge. He a little bit too much. And now he done hurt some person that I loved, her dude or whatever. He done intentionally got at the mama, and she really was like yearning for that attachment. She probably didn't know why, like, why am I even checking on this lady? This lady was kind of rude to me. But at the same time, she probably knew the love and respect that Marlon had for his mother and his parents. And so that will make a person be loyal and love your mother too, because if she bestowed that in you, I know that she could probably embrace me in the same way, especially since she didn't have that motherly comfort from her own, and she was abandoned. So she was looking for some type of motherly figure in her life, which a lot of us are. Message. So Ruth gets to the house and she see them taking this lady's stuff, and she's like, well, where is she? And the guy like, oh, she on the bus. Message. You can have the world. None of those other rich friends, business owners thought to let us help her. Y'all sent her on a bus by herself back to the country with nothing. And so she got on the bus, and the mom like, no, home girl, go on and go. Go on in your element, because I don't really know you like that. I ain't got time for that. But be careful how you push your blessing away, whatever. She get on the bus with her. She had a little food, Miss Naomi got blood pressure issues, all this stuff going on. And Ruth like, no, I'm not leaving. Wherever you go, I'm supposed to go. And all she could do was kind of oblige to it and was like, all right, I guess, whatever, because they both basically hanging on to the last life that they have in them right now. And it's each other and the hope of a new place. And the thing about it, message was the persistence and the faithfulness of Ruth's heart also. She didn't even know what she was doing, but that kind of fit into that scripture. And I ain't no scholarly type of biblical person like that. Now I know a little bit, but obedience is better than sacrifice. She sacrificed her safety, her big fandom and all of that to go to the country and be with this lady for whatever called her to that. She went with it. So obedience is better than sacrifice. So another message. Even in your downtime, the way that you use your time, God sees your persistence. It didn't stop her. Like I said, she was trying to make sure her and her mother-in-law, in a sense, or her new mother, had something to eat. The house was in shambles. I mean, raggedy as I don't know what. Yard raggedy, holes in the wall, windows busted. I mean, it's just a lot. And she still stayed. You know how many people would have walked away for that? Shoot. And then Miss Naomi talking about critters. Don't none of us like no critters, no roaches. We don't want, no. We be trying to go the next day, but Ruth get up and she goes from place to place in that little town, Pegram. I don't know where this at. I ain't never heard of it. She goes and she's looking for work and she finds a young lady. At first I was like, oh, her supposed to be another villain, because you know how sometimes they paint that or whatever. But she ended up being a really good friend, Lena. And she was like, this physical labor, because she looking at her like she dressed and maybe she a prissy girl. And she had a faith about her and the courage to, hey, I'm gonna get out there and do whatever I do. What you do? And so she was telling her, and she pretty much helped her along the way, trained her, whatever. And she was like, hey, you need to take breaks because it's hot out here. And she was like, no. She said, she was letting her know about the bushels or whatever, or however much they weight is. This is how much you can make by that. So Ruth like, listen, I ain't got no time to stop. Have you ever been in a life, part of life where you like, I can't stop? Even if your body's telling you, I'm not saying overexert yourself, but you know how sometimes you like, I gotta keep going right now. I'm in get it mode. I can't stop. And that's basically where she was. And at that same time, I feel like God saw that, and he sees that in all of us when you keep persistently going and you moving on faith. And sometimes he'll give you that fuel even when you don't even feel like, how am I making it, God? So then we meet Boaz. He is a great leader. Seems like he's compassionate, trying to make work for the community. The guy that picked him up, Gino, was like, ain't no prereqs or whatever, and this is some of the new people that we met. So he did see Ruth, and he probably like, she knew in time, who was that? She a cute girl, whatever. Maybe not even that. He saw her spirit, whatever, because of the things he also was going through in his life. That made him come back to that town. I feel like he had a lot of humility, so he didn't have a lot of family or anything or whatever. So they basically were caught up in a space in life. Him, Naomi, and her, they were all alone. Have you ever been in situations like that? And it was almost like they kind of dropped near to one another. So Gino was like, hey, she been working, she don't catch no breaks. So he kind of go over there, he's introducing himself to her, trying to get to know her or whatever. And she's skeptical because, listen, man, I done been through some stuff and I'm just trying to work, whatever, not knowing that he the whole boss. So she's kind of just trying to stay steadfast, and he showed her a different technique or whatever on how to cut and things like that. So she kind of like, okay. And so it kind of flashes back, and Naomi's in the house. She's kind of crashing out, going through some things or whatever. And the pastor come by, and sometimes God will send folks, like, hey, I'm still praying for you. And at that point, she rejected it. I believe she had even took the cross down. Like, she's mad. You done took two of my kids, my husband, my spouse, my lover, my business partner. Like, I've been sitting up here doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm back at square one. And a lot of times the message is, the way we leave, you never know the way you may have to come back. humble beginnings you may have to go back to. I don't know if she started to be more bougie in her life, or she just left her place. Well, I guess since she left the house, she never did really go back. But sometimes that bridge, you don't know if you got to cross it again, and it's embarrassing because I got myself up out of this and I'm back here. So that's a lot of stress that would take somebody up out of here. So it was a little turn of events. Lena told her, like, hey, I think you need some time to just unwind, relax, or whatever. Let's go to this bar. They do karaoke. I was like, oh Lord, here it go. She loved to sing. That's her thing. And I was like, oh, who gonna see her? So that was one of the indicators or whatever. And they go in there, and because they had been hearing her sing, and one guy was like, I know her. I told you that was her. While they was out there on one of the grape what is it, vineyards or whatever. And he was like, I told you that was that girl that was singing or whatever. It's always somebody gonna know who you are. And sometimes it's a good thing and a bad thing. People will bring up your past or take you back to a place you weren't even trying to go. And she like, hey, I ain't with that group no more. Don't associate with me with that. And that would have been a red flag. I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to find another job fooling with them because they know too much. But she goes and she blows the performance out of the water. I can't remember what the song was or whatever. But she did really good, and her homegirl was taping her. Her homegirl had submitted her in there or whatever to sing, and they didn't record it. So Pow Wow, he looking for him and his homeboy. So I was like, oh Lord, here comes that. Always somebody unintentionally putting you on the spotlight, not knowing the past that you have. So even at the bar, she didn't know that Boaz hang out there too. He's a single bachelor and going through some things or whatever. And I guess Gino must have been his dad's like close friend, so he kind of stand close to him, and they kick it seems a lot, and they trust each other. So that's always good to have somebody around. But he like start standing up. I mean, she was mesmerizing him with this song, and I was like, oh. So what she was saying in the song was really touching him or whatever. And I think that at this point, the what do they say, the he was hit with a heart. So that was how that played out. And then I thought about something too. She made sure her friend Bree was good, paid the rent up. She tried to pay the guy something, and she said, hey, I'll still pay you. Some situations you can't pay your way out of. Some people want blood. Sometimes it ain't no in and out. You just, if you in, you in. And that's almost like, those escaping Pharaoh, people want to hold you back and enslave you or whatever. So she was brave to do that. And even in this liberating moment of her going back up there and singing, it exposed her and opened her up for them to find her. Cyrus, he mad, because he can't find nobody that sing like or whatever. And her friend Bree, she held it down for whatever, and made sure that she was good, even though he was trying to threaten her and all of that. And he was like, we're gonna find her. That video coming out was the big thing. So as she's at the bar, he trying to talk to her, just trying to get to know her, whatever. And she like, listen, it's so sad. Another message, the men from the past and the things she went through, because she went through foster care. So I'm sure she went through a lot of abuse and different things or whatever. Even the nicest guy can make you feel like, what he want? Is he really this, whatever? So she was kind of just damaged in that sense. And at the same time, she was trying to stay focused on what it needed to be. So she ended up finding out, oh, he the big man. He the boss of the whole operation. And she was like, but still, I know your kind, because now she's thinking you trying to entrap me too. I just left from one entanglement. I ain't got time to be out here, man. I'm trying to crush these grapes, get this little money, and help Miss Naomi. That's all I want to do. Another message that I found. All of these is going to be messages, and I'm pausing a little bit. Just stick with me. Lena ends up being another friend who, what they say, iron sharpens iron. Lena not only hooked up with a job, was helped on the job or whatever. She didn't ever come at her a certain way. She saw that she's singing. She wanted to bring that back out of her, not knowing the danger that she was in. But she also came and was like, hey girl, let's go to church. that's a good friend, because we all need some type of prayer, some type of spirituality or whatever. You could say, oh, the church ain't this, well, the club ain't this, and the work ain't this. It's all the same. It's good and bad people everywhere you go. So she talking to Miss Naomi, and she like, you don't want to go to church? It's one of your churches that you went to or whatever. And Miss Naomi like, listen, I ain't trying to hear that. I want to insert the I'm tired of the the Kelly Price song when she said, I'm even tired of going to church. Yes, sometimes you can be tired of all of that. And it's like, I had to come back here, and what more humbling do I need, God, that you take everything that I've birthed, everything that I've curated and loved over these years, to bring me back here to nothing. Even though it felt like it was nothing, it was a renewal of something that she might have needed in her life too. Because we didn't really get a backstory, I think, of Miss Naomi per se, outside of just being a country girl and probably having certain limitations that she just didn't want to go back to. But she was like, nah, I don't need to go to that church. I don't want to go and see them people. I ain't got no tithe to give. I don't want them looking down on me. You can go, you know, and that's it. And Naomi went, and she found out that Boaz is a church going man. And he ain't just playing. He was going for his own salvation. He wasn't going in there to woo woo no other women or whatever. She like, you stalking me? He was like, nah, I just go to this church or whatever. And that was that with that part. So she kind of like, I know she probably was seeing little signs, but she had been through so much, them signs don't always be good ones. And you go with it and find out it really wasn't the right choice. Another message, her going to church and letting them know. And I know a lot of people, some stuff ain't your business. Some stuff, like my grandma say, some things people need to know. When the pastor asked her about how Naomi was doing, she was like, well, the house is like this and that. Went to the right type of men. They was like, oh yeah, the house do need some paint. I had already tried to do that when I went over there trying to pray for her. Do you know the church and the community came and cleaned up the whole house, painted it, did everything. And somehow Naomi did know of Boaz or whatever. And she was just happy to see him. They came out. A miracle. Small little things that can heal somebody. Whatever, especially if that's the place that her and her husband started. It probably did give her some type of solace or whatever too, to feel whole in that moment and to have a renewing message, of her faith. And I think that was a pivotal point too, that this little girl is connecting to the right people to bring back that wholesome and peace, the little bit that she could get back in her life. And they came, and she was out there serving them food. And because she said, her cooking for, which a lot of us that soul food, cooking for your family that do something for you, to see them eating and enjoying it or whatever. And that was kind of a bonding moment for them, because she cooks for and all of that or whatever. That shows love in a lot of households. So as the extreme makeover going on, all the women out there, ooh, look at Boaz, he this, and that or whatever. And Ruth wasn't really swayed. You know how sometimes we like, I see him, but I ain't supposed to do all that, whatever. But Mama at this point, Naomi, kind of like, hey, we got some tea for you that Naomi done made, and y'all need to go talk. She trying to hook them up because she sees something, and I respect her humility, because even though my son was attached, I also want happiness for this young lady just as my son wanted, and she wasn't so selfish to try to be like, she need to get over my son and this and that. She still wanted her to have love even in her hurt. She saw something better for this young girl, because at this point, Ruth don't even know how appreciative Naomi is, because she's still that old kind of school or whatever, not talking about everything, but she peeping it out, and she's like, yeah, y'all need to go talk and all that or whatever, not knowing after they do the talk, baby, they got a car set for her so they can get back and forth, just on some Oprah stuff. You get a car, you get a car. It was really sweet, because they saw the need and they provided it, whatever, for them to get around. And just the fact that they didn't ask, it was given. And during the little walk that Boaz and Ruth were having, they kind of was having a how you grew up type of thing, because that does matter in relationships, kind of knowing where a person comes from. And it didn't reflect everything, because he had more advantages, because his father was a business owner, like Miss Naomi and them. Ruth pretty much being an orphan or whatever. She's like, hey, I done been moved around. I done been hurt. I done went through this or whatever. And he's like, even though I had this, I didn't want to be here in this town. He kind of moved around like Miss Naomi, went to get an MBA. He was in New York and all those things. But at the same time, the yearning of God, the yearning of love, being hurt in some ways by losing parents, and they never really said anything about where Ruth mom was, whatever happened to that situation. They didn't go deep in it, but they both were yearning for a mother's love, and Naomi was right there. Is that not part of the biblical story too? But sometimes even when we have loved ones that pass, or friends and things that may pass or go, it's always a replacement there if you want it. And that's pretty much what ended up being, that the people that you didn't even think that you could count on was the people that was there. Boaz was also a man that wanted to bring her dreams and make them come true. He hooked up with Babyface, and they sat down and made these songs and things. So she's kind of like going through some happiness, but in the back of her mind, I know they looking for me. She done talked to Bree, and Bree like, hey, we seen that video. He's looking for you. He is mad. So she know all of these things are happening, but what's in her, the singing, also reflects his mother. So he saw that in her, and he wanted her to have that voice and that outlet or whatever. So she goes and she's talking to Miss Naomi at the garden, and I feel like that was kind of a moment. Maybe I'm a little too deep, but I said it was a sweet, deep movie, and it had a lot of faith-filled points and messages in it. And they're both at a gardening, and you have to think, we all are sowing and reaping our harvest, and that was part of the movie too, the grapes and the harvest. And did you know how wine is made and how it has to sit, and it ferments, and it does all that? We are doing that, and sometimes you'll see the other side of how we have to go through the fire message. And even in the heat of it, it can mold you in a certain way. And that's even on some spiritual stuff. And go pick up your Bible. I ain't just to go deep into all that, but that was a bigger thing toward the end that I saw too, that even the fire can make things taste better. So as the first date happens, Naomi wanted to prepare her, and she, as a mother, gave her one of her dresses that she had with her husband. So she, at this point, think of her as her daughter, and she really wants her to be happy. And she's steady trying to encourage her about, just like Boaz said, sometimes he's the middleman to God. He sent you, so go in and absorb that and have a good time or whatever. And as she goes, he washes her feet, just like in the Bible message. So that they could crush the grapes. But a person that can kneel down and wash your feet, that's showing humility and grace and a substance. Okay? Because most people, I ain't just touch nobody's feet and whatever. You don't know the faith in that, whatever, and the purity in that of heart. That was a great message for them to go and crush grapes together, whatever. And it also, my mind be going, it made me think of that episode of I Love Lucy when she was in there fighting with that lady. I'm an I Love Lucy fan, and when they was doing it, that's all that crossed my mind. My mind go back and forth. But anyway, she started thinking a little bit too deep about some things, and it just kind of startled her and made her afraid, to be loved. And I think, what's that song for? This is love. Yeah, like she was going into the zone only for it to be like, no. Have you ever went through that? That when something is good for you, all the doubt and the people or the bad energy that's trying to tell you that you shouldn't have it, and you in that moment, I always think back, what moments did I have in my life, not even just in love, that I neglected or let go out of fear or doubt from other people, whatever. And hopefully, those opportunities will be given back. So that was a message too. So the next scene, they're at the bar, and like I said, Gino, all of them hang out. Boaz is there leaning them or whatever. And so while she's there, right in the coverings of danger, another bad situation happened that kind of protected her. And she was in a club, and here come Cyrus or whatever, and he done asked the bartender, he done told all the business. Hold on, man, he ain't bought a drink yet, and you done told all the girl business. Yeah, she be over there at Boaz, she work for him, I think they dating. Like, man, come on, bartender, he ain't slide you no money or nothing. He shows you one picture, and you just was all in it. He go over to the Boaz. Boaz has discernment. And he like, who are you? So he trying to like, joke him like, oh yeah, I'm a executive and this and that somewhat. And yeah, I saw her and I'm just looking for her. But he knew the demeanor. So he kind of like, And he probably putting two and two together, like maybe this is why she tripping or whatever. So he knew something was up. And in the midst of all of this happening, she get a call from the pastor, and she's like, Ruth gets a call from the pastor, and he's like, hey, Naomi's sick, something with her blood pressure, whatever. So that made her rush off, her and Lena, and they go check her. And of course, she's talking to her, trying to console her as she's sick herself. And she was like, girl, you done saved my life. I ain't supposed to get up out of here. You know how them old school went. I ain't supposed to get up out of here yet, girl. This ain't gonna take me up out of here, girl. I'm trying to be here for you, and I want to see this for you. What happened, whatever. And it's just a lot for her. And she's kind of feeling guilty at this point, not even knowing that this boy is on her tracks or whatever. So it was like right in that moment, it was a shift, and it helped her get out of danger again at that moment. And another heavy message that I really loved when Naomi was in the hospital, and she spoke to her about her anger, her bitterness, her doubt, her broken heart. Her faith had been let down. My son gone yet again. I'm speaking on her husband. And then she thought about it. How dare I? I have a lot of come to Jesus meetings with myself because of certain things in life. And it's like I always say, we say, why me, but why not you? And she was basically like, I almost rejected you, and you was the one that God was sending to save my life again, to make me whole. And I'm thankful for the love I lost, but at least I felt it. I had it. It was here, and I can never forget it, even if I can't get it back, but I had it, so don't miss out on it. And she also just says, even within this, the goodness of God. And that was another part that, y'all, I had to kind of get the lashes when she was singing about the goodness of God. I think CeCe Winans sang that, and she was singing it with Babyface when she was a child, and she thought about that. And it was also the same thing that was going on with Miss Naomi. Like, even within this, Lord, forgive me. If you real about it, y'all know y'all done had them times when you accusing him, and you said, why me, why not you? But thank you, God, anyway. The goodness of God. So the praising, basically, they both were back in sync on, but God. You know what I mean? So that was another message. So this is coming towards the end, and they're at the winery's little shindig, and they out there having a good time. And Ruth gets up there and she does her thing, and she's singing about faithfulness. Okay, and here come the devil. So he already done set some traps and doing some stuff, because he's like, oh, okay, she close to him, so I'm gonna try to make her come on back or whatever. And in this scene, it kind of reminded me of Listen. You remember when Beyonce was singing, and I can't think of his name, Jamie Foxx character at the time. And I should know that that's one of my favorite movies. Curtis was looking at her, because as she was singing that song, he could see the liberation, the freedom, the whatever you trying to do to me, it don't even matter no more. And he saw that, and he still thought that his griminess was going to bring her back, but he really was making a trap for himself. As they say, if you're gonna dig if you're gonna dig a ditch or a grave, dig two. Anyway. And so while all of this is going on, a fire breaks out. So yet again, she probably like, man, because of me, this done happened. I love this dude. I done rejected him. And he just steady looking after me. And this man done this. So it was just a sad situation or whatever. So they all just trying to stop the fire and it didn't happen or whatever. And it also made me think of another message. Contractual agreements are not always on paper. When the devil feel like he have you, the curses on your family, listen, all of that, you got to let them spirits know, nah, ain't no more agreements, okay? This is binded. You can take it back to the pits of hell with you. Now, this is a whole nother recap. I ain't talking crazy with some of the movies I be watching. I'm not the best. I'm an honest sinner. Hashtag that, honest sinner. But them contractual spiritual warfare agreements are real. And he knew he didn't have that control over her, so I'm going to try to control the people around you and what you love. And that's always the weakest thing that the devil can try to do to you. And that's exactly what he did. And it pissed me off what he did worse. I was wanting to come through that. I was like, man, somebody get him. So the devil, he been doing the same tricks from the beginning of time since he got kicked out, right? So he's setting little sparks and fires everywhere around her, whatever, just trying to get her to come back. And he done went to her mama, Miss Naomi house, and Miss Naomi in her serving this man for. Now, Miss Naomi, I know you been a little touched by God and stuff. Don't let nobody in your house. He in here eating tomatoes, fried green tomatoes or something. And then he started to get a little dark, when Ruth come in there, and basically let Naomi know, yeah, it wasn't no setup and this and that or whatever. So you could just tell it just kind of rose up in her, because she like, am I hearing what I'm hearing? And he was like, yes, she finna to go. And she was like, nah, she not finna to go. And this boy done slugged the lady on the ground. And I'm like, oh, and the other guy that's with him, you just gonna let him, and he holding on to Ruth all hard or whatever. Baby, Boaz felt something. He came around that mountain. He was coming around the mountain when he came around that little corner and hopped on that, and he ready to fight him and stuff. So big boy done kicked him off and all of that. But baby, she said, no, you not taking my daughter. You done took everything from me. You not taking nothing else. And she pow with that shotgun that was up in that house. And I don't think she didn't unalive him, but she put him down just to get up off of everybody for a while. I don't know which one. So they pretty much was gonna go to jail, and she was telling her, I cook for you, that show my love, and they having their little heart to heart or whatever. And that was just a scene of what goes around comes around, and it was almost kind of poetic. He didn't die, but I think he'd have to go to jail for the rest of his life. So look at all of that, what you did, all of that for nothing. Sometimes, even if people have hurt you, that was also a message, because hurt comes in different ways, and some people project extra ignorant stuff. But like my grandma say, let them alone. Let people alone. Let them go. Let them alone and let them go. Like, real deal. Let that girl go. If you messed up, then you go be the talent that you feel that you need to be for yourself to go get that deal. So as they're going through the ashes of the winery, a lot of the bottles, they didn't explode and all of that. And I heard he say that it can turn into vinegar and all that. But I know the making of the wine can be in different climates, and the heat ferments and all that or whatever. That's my hospitality background. But that heat gave it that little, what is it, because I know they burn when it's in the actual, or just liquor and different things of that. They put it in different wood castings and they burn it, so it gives it a different type of taste. And they was like, her, Gino and them, they tasting it or whatever, they passing it around, and they like, dang, it really is okay or whatever. So through the travesty of trying to get to her and hurt everybody, all he did was push them into their purpose. So I've heard the message, let Judas do his job. Because whatever's going to happen has to happen. Let your Judases do their job. Now, I ain't saying let them hurt you like, physically. But what they do sometimes is only setting you up for the biggest comeback, whatever. And all Boaz wanted was to get the best show review, so they end up going. And the guy was like, you didn't get, I guess, this other level, but you did get the, what was it called? Best in show or whatever. And so at this point, she already know he want to be with her. And he's like, hey, can you be my business partner, his partner and all that or whatever. And it kind of goes to them getting married. And it goes out as Felicia Rashad kind of talking about the ashes and things of that nature. And that made me think of how, in the end, love wins. God will always win. Faith can be restored. And being careful of dismissing your angels unaware. They say about entertaining them. And it also is a message of, at the end of the day, we all want to be loved and we deserve it. Don't let nobody make you feel like even the worst things that you have done, that God still don't love you and love cannot be there. But you got to have a repenting heart. You got to show your faith or whatever. But that was like the highlight of this. Maybe I look a little too deep in it, but I saw a different message in it. Not just, the lovey-doveyness of it, but it was more of a faith-filled, community-based, how we need each other, the fellowship. And it's not always deep in the church, but it's the word of God was like spinning around, and it combined them to help them go back to church and be a different type of family. And they're gonna be took care of because he had it, and he done won the winery, and he helping the community. So everything that you reap, you sow, and the harvest is gonna be good for all of them now. So this is my recap for Ruth and Boaz for Netflix, from Netflix. All the actors, y'all did a phenomenal job. Don't let them tell you no different. Devon Franklin, it was written very well. Thank you for your version of this. I loved it. I cried my lashes off and had to glue them back on a little bit to do this review, but I wanted to get it out because I know so many people, they want all these other things. It was what it needed to be, brother, and we appreciate you for it. Good movie. Sarai, you did a really, really good job. And I can't think of the guy right now. You did really good as Boaz. And of course, the regal, the legendary Felicia Rashad. She did her thing. And so, good job, y'all. I loved it. This your girl, All.i.C. Check me out. Watch my page for other things that's going on. So this was the in-house review of Ruth and Boaz 2025. Bye.